Caught wife cheating. Now what about her kids? Really long sorry. Had to get it out. I am 52, lost first wife 10 years ago. At the time 2 daughters now 21 and 24. Life went on after about 3 years. I met current wife, 38. Met innocently enough. Basically kept bumping into her at various places around town. Never really talked, sometimes made eye contact, we would point at each other at a distance and just smile. Then one day getting my car worked on, she walked into the waiting room, while hers was worked on also. So we finally had a long conversation. We went across the street to get real coffee, as service centers was bad. We talked about an hour, then I was paged mine was done. I asked if she would like to do lunch one day to continue talking, we exchanged numbers and a day to meet up. We dated 2 years, then married. She has 2 boys now 10 and 14. They moved into my house, been living with her parents for 3 years. My girls loved her. Not as a stepmom but as a big sister. Although having another adult in the house with 2 teenage girls was a blessing. Life is grand. I love those boys as if we're my own. I want to adopt them when they can make a decision on their own. The little one calls me dad. The oldest, it was awkward. I told him to call me what he felt comfortable, my first name. The girls called her by her name. Wife is Sam. We decided until kids were adjusted. Now she doesn't want to work but does volunteer at school lunch and other things. Daughter 1 goes off to college, is now graduated. The younger daughter grad this past morning. We are moving the rest of her things this weekend. I was told her ex abandoned them about the time baby number 2 came along and has been no contact since. Her mom is very nice but holds me at arm's length. Her dad is an alpha dog. I don't think he wanted anyone else taking care of his daughter only child, and grandkids. He would berate me because I was too old, not much younger than them. This would be any time I was around them. I am non-confrontational, so I told wife I would just stay away from them. I did encourage her to continue relationship, as they only live a couple blocks away. February this year her ex reappears, wants to be in their lives. He is sketchy at best. I cannot refuse this. He starts coming around often. I set a boundary that he comes on weekends so as not to interfere with school and we can control his visitation somewhat. He comes most weekends, but really spends little time alone with the kids as we try to give him space. I ask wife if he made any child support payments while he was gone. No. I suggested to her to talk to him about getting caught up of whatever he owes and to ask about signing over rights so I could adopt. She said she would talk to him. First part of March our sex life starts to dive. You know where this going, right? But I am oblivious. I mentioned to wife, she has the usual excuses. I notice little things around the house are different. My favorite snacks are gone, missing a few beers, not a big drinker, just one every now and then. But the big one was I could smell what I thought was weed. I asked wife if she was smoking, as we don't, she hasn't. I thought the now 14-year-old was, suggested we talk with him. She says she would handle it. About 2 weeks ago 14 years old asks me if I love mom. I said yes, thinking he has a girlfriend. Time for a talk, right? He says that we always sat together and were touching each other some way or other, this made him feel good. He asks if mom loved his dad. I responded that sure on some level she does, why asking? He replies that they are always looking at each other, talking and touching. And he is over all the time. I asked what he meant by all the time. Almost every day when they get home from school he is there then leaves. That weekend I'm in the living room, he is over for visitation. He comes in and sits down across from me with a beer. I look up from my reading, and tell him to help himself to a beer. He says nothing. I ask why isn't he with the kids. I could hear laughing coming from the family room. He said he might go in a little bit. I tell him I will not drink in front of the kids, I wait until after they are in bed. He says nothing. He then states, you know I am only here for her. What does that mean? You're talking about my wife. He says technically not divorced, he never signed papers, so she is his wife. I know a judge signed off on divorce because he could not be found, that's why it took longer to divorce. I finally ask about the child support, since I never heard back. He just looked at me and said that he was caught up, paid her $15,000 in cash. WTF. I asked then if she talked to him about giving up rights, never asked. He asked what would it be worth to me. I said you got to be kidding, you would sell your kids. Before he could answer I told him to leave. The next day, this past Sunday the kids were at grandma and grandpa with wife. I bought and installed a camera. I put it on top of the TV. Very small. It has a view of the front door and living room. Motion activated. Nothing unusual until Wednesday about 10 a.m. I get alert on phone when the camera activates. So I am at work, I get a notice, figure it's the wife cleaning up, I look anyways. He comes back. She lets him and they kiss, long. He starts grabbing at her, she playfully pushes away, they are laughing, no sound. He sits on the couch, she brings him a beer and snacks. 10 in the morning she disappears. She is back a few minutes later, clothes changed, she is going to school for lunch. They are talking. More grabbing, more pushing away, laughing. A few minutes later she is up getting ready to leave. He gets up, grabs her again. Making some gestures, then poses like he is praying, hands together. They sit down again, she gives him head. She finishes up, goes out of range. Comes back, says something, then leave. He then watches TV, he takes a nap. Screen eventually goes blank. A little after 1 p.m. another alert, she is home. They talk, they both leave room. I know they are headed to bedroom. I race home and find them. They never heard me coming. There is the hysterics you would expect. He slithers out. I tell her she has to go. She pleads it was a one-time mistake, he had just got there. She was lonely because we weren't having sex, etc. I called BS. I asked how often he came over, just the weekends. This was an anomaly. I showed the video of him napping. She said he was tired and asked. Then I showed her the BJ. She had nothing to say. I told her to pack her bags, she is out. I left and called her dad to take them in, we were having issues. He of course take alpha position, telling me how I would screw this up, yada yada. I couldn't get a word in. Finally I stopped him, asked again, he said yes, then started on me again. I had enough, I said I would send him something, I sent the video edited down to BJ. I told him to view and call me back if I was wrong. Never heard back. Talked to lawyer Thursday. He helped with estate plan after first wife. Referred me to a partner who does family law, will meet Tuesday, divorce will happen. He felt but did not know for sure that I would be on the hook for support for kids, no alimony since she broke our prenup. I made it up before marriage in addition to estate plan to protect my girls. I don't care about the support, glad to do it. It's the boys. So my question or advice needed, has anyone else been through divorce and was able to see their ex's kids even if they are no yours? How did that go? The 14 years old is partially vulnerable as he will be in HS next year, formative years. I don't want to see him go down the tube and turn out like dad. Thanks to all in advance. Update 1. Thought I would update. This has been a busy week. Daughter's graduation over last weekend, moving her back, kids' sports starting, meeting with lawyer, and sit down with the wife. I will try to keep it short. I have written this now 3 times, because of length I keep cutting it back. Met with my lawyer Tuesday. We discussed what I wanted to do. I told him how I wanted to be in the boy's life. If that means remaining married, then so be it. I still have love for the wife but no longer trust. He advised that in his experience it would be wrong to continue the marriage as it would be a charade of one. Overall a crappy marriage, the boys would suffer. The prenup was violated, that will hold. Wife is not entitled to any support. He suggests that we work together to come up with a visitation plan that works for both. Child support will be up to me, but again anything we work out will be looked on favorably by the court. He added that there have been cases where judges have ruled that a step-parent that has been in the child's life for a long time, where they have supported them, should pay child support. He didn't think the judges in our local courts have ruled that way, but they may at some time. Once she gets a lawyer everything will be tougher. Get it worked out before then. He tells me in their weekly partners meeting they go over new and upcoming cases. My original attorney only did elder law and estate planning. My new attorney does family law. The others do criminal and liability. A few hours after the meeting, criminal attorney, CA, comes into his office and told him the $15,000 in back child support just didn't sound right. The amount is pretty close to what the ex should gave paid. His thought, how does a middle-class person get his hands on that much cash? The CA made a call to a contact in the prosecutor's office in the county. It turns out the ex never abandoned wife and kids. He was in jail on drug charges. He was tied to a federal case. He was granted early release 3 years ago, when the feds were releasing nonviolent prisoners to ease overcrowding. I don't know if they are interested in him now, but the CA seems to think he went back to his old profession. They really are divorced, we checked again. So Thursday comes around for us to meet. Wife and FIL come over to the house. It was very uncomfortable. Up until the Tuesday meeting I was still on the fence on what to do. I started off with saying I was going to record the meeting so there would be no misinterpretation of what transpired. They both agreed. I asked if she had consulted an attorney. She had not. I advised her to get one because there will be a divorce. That statement took the air out of the room. Wife asks if we could speak alone for a couple minutes before we continue. I agreed. She asks FIL to give us space. She started to apologize. I cut her off. I did not want excuses. I told her that she violated my trust by not only cheating but lying to me. She asked how. I told her I know a lot more than she thinks. I knew she was just going to lie more. So I asked about the $15,000, why she never told me. She thought for a second. She never had that much money at one time and just kept it to herself. She still had the cash. I asked if she questioned where it came from. X knew he owed it to her and the kids, and when he got enough that's why he showed up. So right away she is lying. I told her I knew the deep dark family secret. X was in jail. I asked where he has been for the last 3 years since release. Had she met up with him? She was shocked I knew, but the look on her face that he was out for 3 years told me she did not know. He contacted her end of January. We discussed the fact that X wanted to sell me the boys for his vacating parental rights. She claims not to know this. I asked how long has the sex been going on. She said the one time. I called BS. I told her I had the camera set up for a while. I showed her a clip where she actually dusted the TV and never noticed the camera on top. It wasn't big, but it was very obvious. Note, I only had the camera a few days, but what the hell, I just went with it. She thought it was part of video game system. She then admitted it started in March. 2 full months. So she had told me another lie. At this point we called FIL back in. I was done with the lies. We then get into what I want, the boys. At this point we are recording. They both object, but eventually we come to the agreement the boys can come over whenever, but stay with her. I would stay in the lives and provide what I feel is appropriate. I expected her to return to work, not to expect me to support her. I reminded her of the prenup and that she violated it. I said she cannot work the boys to ask for things, because they will be honest with me when I ask if they were put up to get something from me. I did say that I knew eventually she would have another man in her life, considering her age, and that I would not cause any issues once I felt he had the best interests of the boys. By then they could be beyond the confusion stage and could decide how they will react to another stepdad. One last thing, Redditors, wife and I both are avid followers of different subs. We spent many evenings side by side reading our favorites and sharing with each other. She has read my post, figured out by my descriptions that it was me. She saw your reactions. While I wish I could have used most of your replies, she read them all and commented how you've savaged her. Thank you.